Well, we're going to start with chapter 9, which is the long-ish story of the man born blind. And right before this, Jesus had a, what would you call it, a contretemps with the Pharisees.
Right.
And they were picking up stones to stone him with. And he hid himself and went out of the temple. And I think they were going to stone him because he said, I am. Do you remember that, as God named himself in the burning bush? They would have thought that was an incredible blasphemy. Okay. So anyway, he left. As he walked along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned. He was born blind so that God's works might be revealed in him. We must work the works of him who sent me while it is day. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. When he had said this, he spat on the ground and made mud with the saliva and spread the mud on the man's eyes, saying to him, go, wash in the pool of Siloam, which means sent. Then he went and washed and came back able to see. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar began to ask, is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Some were saying, it is he. Others were saying, no, but it is someone like him. He kept saying, I am the man. But they kept asking him, then how were your eyes opened? He answered, the man called Jesus made mud, spread it on my eyes, and said to me, go to Siloam and wash. Then I went and washed and received my sight. They said to him, where is he? He said, I do not know. They brought to the Pharisees the man who had formerly been blind. Now, it was a Sabbath day when Jesus made the mud and opened his eyes. Then the Pharisees also began to ask him how he had received his sight. He said to them, he put mud on my eyes. Then I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, for he does not observe the Sabbath. But others said, how can a man who is a sinner perform such signs? And they were divided. So they said again to the blind man, what do you say about him? It was your eyes he opened. He said, he is a prophet. The Jews did not believe that he had been blind and had received his sight until they called the parents of the man who had received his sight and asked them, is this your son who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? His parents answered, we know that this is our son and that he was born blind, but we do not know how it is that now he sees. Nor do we know who opened his eyes. Ask him. He is of age. He will speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jews, for the Jews had already agreed that anyone who confessed Jesus to be the Messiah would be put out of the synagogue. Therefore, his parents said, "He is of age, ask him." So, for the second time, they called the man who had been blind, and they said to him, "Give glory to God. We know that this man is a sinner." He answered, "I do not know whether he is a sinner. One thing I do know, that though I was blind, now I see." They said to him, "What did he do to you? How did he open your eyes?" He answered them, "I've told you already, and you would not listen. Why do you want to hear it again? Do you also want to become his disciples?" Then they reviled him, saying, "You are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses, but as for this man, we do not know where he comes from." The man answered, "Here is an astonishing thing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes. We know that God does not listen to sinners, but he does listen to the one who worships him and obeys his will. Never since the world began has it been heard that anyone opened the eyes of a person born blind. If this man were not from God, he could do nothing." They answered him, "You were born entirely in sins, and are you trying to teach us?" And they drove him out. Jesus heard that they had driven him out, and when he found him, he said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered, "And who is he, sir? Tell me so that I may believe in him." Jesus said to him, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "Lord, I believe," and he worshiped him. Jesus said, "I came into this world for judgment, though that those who do not see may see, and those who do see may become blind." Some of the Pharisees near him heard this and said to him, "Surely we are not blind, are we?" Jesus said to them, "If you were blind, you would not have sinned. But now that you say, 'We see,' your sin remains." Would someone like to read chapter 10, which is another? Jesus now starts talking to all the Pharisees, and it's the beautiful story of that we've heard before in the Gospels of the Good Shepherd.
I can read it.
Sandy, go for it. Yeah.
"Very truly I tell you, Pharisees, anyone who does not enter the sheep pen by the gate, but climbs in by some other way, is a thief and a robber. The one who enters by the gate is the shepherd of the sheep. The gatekeeper opens the gate for him, and the sheep listen to his voice. He calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. When he has brought out all his own, he goes on ahead of them, and his sheep follow him because they know his voice. But they will never follow a stranger. In fact, they will run away from him because they do not recognize a stranger's voice." Jesus used this figure of speech, but the Pharisees did not understand what he was telling them. Therefore, Jesus said again, "Very truly I tell you, I am the gate for the sheep. All who have come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep have not listened to them. I am the gate. Whoever enters through me will be saved. They will come in and go out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. The hired hand is not the shepherd and does not own the sheep. So when he sees the wolf coming, he abandons the sheep and runs away. Then the wolf attacks the flock and scatters it. The man runs away because he is a hired hand and cares nothing for the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep and my sheep know me, just as the Father knows me and I know the Father. And I lay down my life for the sheep. I have other sheep that are not of this sheep pen. I must bring them also. They too will listen to my voice, and there shall be one flock and one shepherd. The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life, only to take it up again. No one takes it from me, but I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. The command I received from my Father. The Jews who heard these words were again divided. Many of them said, "He is demon-possessed and raving mad. Why listen to him?" But others said, "These are not the sayings of a man possessed by a demon. Can a demon open the eyes of the blind?" Then came the festival of dedication at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was in the temple courts walking in Solomon's colonnade. The Jews who were there gathered round him, saying, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly." Jesus answered, "I did tell you, but you do not believe. The works I do in my Father's name testify about me, but you do not believe because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given them to me, is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and the Father are one." Again, his Jewish opponents picked up stones to stone him. But Jesus said to them, "I have shown you many good works from the Father. For which of these do you stone me?" "We are not stoning you for any good work," they replied, "but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, claim to be God." Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law, 'I have said you are gods,' as if he called them gods, to whom the word of God came, and scripture cannot be set aside. What about the one whom the Father set apart as his very own and sent into the world? Why then do you accuse me of blasphemy because I said, 'I am God's son'? Do not believe me unless I do the works of my Father. But if I do them, even though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and understand that the Father is in me and I in the Father." Again, they tried to seize him, but he escaped their grasp. Then Jesus went back across the Jordan to the place where John had been baptizing in the early days. There he stayed, and many people came to him. They said, though John never performed a sign, all that John said about this man was true. And in that place, many believed in Jesus.
What a great story. Now we're coming to another great story. Shall we go on? Deb, I know you like to read. You want to do chapter 11?
Yes, I can do that.
Oh, super.
Now a man named Lazarus was sick. He was from Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. This Mary, whose brother Lazarus now lay sick, was the same one who poured perfume on the Lord and wiped his feet with her hair. So the sisters sent word to Jesus, "Lord, the one you love is sick." When he heard this, Jesus said, "This sickness will not end in death. No, it is for God's glory, so that God's Son may be glorified through it." Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. So when he heard that Lazarus was sick, he stayed where he was 2 more days. And then he said to his disciples, "Let us go back to Judea." "But Rabbi," they said, "a short while ago the Jews there tried to stone you, and yet you are going back?" Jesus answered, "Are there not 12 hours of daylight? Anyone who walks in the daytime will not stumble, for they see by this world's light. It is when a person walks at night that they stumble, for they have no light." After he had said this, he went on to tell them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I am going there to wake him up." His disciples replied, "Lord, if he sleeps, he will get better." Jesus had been speaking of his death, but his disciples thought he meant natural sleep. So then he told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and for your sake I am glad I was not there, so that you may believe. But let us go to him." Then Thomas, also known as Didymus, said to the rest of the disciples, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." Jesus comforts the sisters of Lazarus. On his arrival, Jesus found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb for 4 days. Now Bethany was less than 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many Jews had come to Martha and Mary to comfort them in the loss of their brother. When Martha heard that Jesus was coming, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed at home. "Lord," Martha said to Jesus, "if you had been here, my brother would not have died. But I know that even now, God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus said to her, "Your brother will rise again." Martha answered, "I know he will rise again in the resurrection at the last day." Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this?" "Yes, Lord," she replied. "I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, who is to come into the world." After she had said this, she went back and called her sister Mary aside. "The teacher is here," she said, "and asking for you." When Mary heard this, she got up quickly and went to him. Now Jesus had not yet entered the village, but was still at the place where Martha had met him. When the Jews who had been with Mary in the house, comforting her, noticed how quickly she got up and went out, they followed her, supposing that she was going to the tomb to mourn there. When Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if you had been there, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also weeping, he was deeply moved in spirit and troubled. "Where have you laid him?" he asked. "Come and see, Lord," they replied. Jesus wept. Then the Jews said, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind man have kept this man from dying?" Jesus, once more deeply moved, came to the tomb. It was a cave with a stone laid across the entrance. "Take away the stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, the sister of the dead man, "by this time there is a bad odor, for he has been there 4 days." Then Jesus said, "Did I not tell you that if you believe, you will see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone. Then Jesus looked up and said, "Father, I thank you that you have heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I said this for the benefit of the people standing here, that they may believe that you sent me." When he had said this, Jesus called in a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet wrapped with strips of linen and a cloth around his face. Jesus said to them, "Take off the grave clothes and let him go." Therefore, many of the Jews who had come to visit Mary and had seen what Jesus did believed in him. But some of them went to the Pharisees and told them what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called a meeting of the Sanhedrin. "What are we accomplishing?" they asked. "Here is this man performing many signs. If we let him go on like this, everyone will believe in him, and then the Romans will come and take away both our temple and our nation." Then one of them, named Caiaphas, who was high priest that year, spoke up. "You know nothing at all. You do not realize that it is better for you that one man die for the people than that the whole nation perish." He did not say this on his own, but as high priest that year, he prophesied that Jesus would die for the Jewish nation, and not only for that nation, but also for the scattered children of God, to bring them together and make them one. So from that day on, they plotted to take his life. Therefore, Jesus no longer moved about publicly among the people of Judea. Instead, he withdrew to a region near the wilderness, to a village called Ephraim, where he stayed with his disciples. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, many went up from the country to Jerusalem for their ceremonial cleansing before the Passover. They kept looking for Jesus, and as they stood in the temple courts, they asked one another, "What do you think? Isn't he coming to the festival at all?" But the chief priests and the Pharisees had given orders that anyone who found out where Jesus was should report it, so that they might arrest him.
What do you
That's a good place to stop.
do you think it's a good place to say? I was thinking that too. It's two huge sections of John. They don't seem that long once by the clock anyway. But the man born blind is it's the first blind man in John that gets healed. And it's a and John tells a long story about this guy. And he tells a long story about Lazarus too. And all of this stuff keeps getting Jesus deeper and deeper into trouble or into danger. So
I think it's interesting in the
Lori,
in the passages about the blind men, how he kind of goes through a series of arguments with people. First with blind man, how did you become blind? Then with his parents. And then with the Pharisees, and then the Pharisees are interrogating the parents. And the man has to explain himself again. it's an interesting series of interactions. It's not
Uh,
just he's healed and everyone goes, "Oh wow." There's a
It's
lot of discussion about this
there's
whole
a lot of
and,
discussion
and how
about
he
it.
and how he explains himself and how they miss his explanation. There's a lot of times where it seems like when Jesus talks, and even his own disciples go, "What?"
Yeah, yeah.
And then he's got to go and explain himself again.
It's so I find it I find that story so dramatic, actually. And then because finally the blind man says, I mean, I've already told you what happened.
Yeah,
What more do you want from me?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And then the guy gets thrown out.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's why the parents didn't want to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah. Parents
the
disown their son. Well,
yeah,
actually, in one of those the social commentary books that I read about
yeah,
about these sections, is that the parents denounce him because it was considered a person that would have an affliction like blindness because of some connection to sin, that he had
yeah,
done something, or as they said, he was born blind, which is probably a big mistake because that meant that they did something.
Mhm.
Mother
yeah,
did something
because that's what
that
the
made him
dis
blind in utero. So
yeah,
so
because
they're
that's
trying
what
to
the
distance themselves from responsibility
yeah,
for this
it's
sin.
what the disciples ask right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Who sinned?
Yeah.
This
Who's sin?
man
Yeah.
or his parents?
But
Yeah.
don't you
Yeah.
find it just a little troubling that he says he was born blind so God could be glorified? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, we don't know
Well,
what that means.
yeah, it's one of those things where Jesus seems to sidestep
Yeah,
the question.
yeah, yeah.
And he says, pay attention to what's good. I guess Jesus is saying, pay attention to the present. See what's
To
going
the
to happen.
right to the outcome, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess one of those, if Jesus heals him, you couldn't say he was born in sin. Well, maybe you could say it's one of
Well, sin has
those things I can't answer. Yeah, go ahead.
I think
Yeah.
sin might have a slightly different meaning in that time. It's the way it was explained was
Hey,
sin
go play.
was sort of a breaking of a social contract in a group, so that there was some sort of, behavior or commitment of, he broke a law,
Yeah.
or that he did something against a neighbor. So it's not it's not evil thoughts and the devil. It's he did something against the community, and so that
Yeah.
result in a baby being born blind. I kind of think this is more simple. I think to me it just seems a complicated metaphor about bringing light, which is what
Mhm.
Jesus does. He brings light, and
Yes.
and that
Yeah.
and that the discussions is, he's always in John's gospel, he's always explaining himself. He's always engaged in conversation where he almost seems to, there's a lot of wordplay that he does, that which I think causes the listeners to go, what are you talking about? And then he's got to repeat it or say it differently, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then he manages to get in the words that seem to matter the most, which, God and I are, my father and I are so close. We are practically one.
He
Yeah.
says they are one. He says, God is in me and I'm in God.
Yeah.
He says that several times
In this
in
section, he
John.
does. Yeah. Yeah. He says that.
I think I think perhaps more when he says that, nobody sinned, the man was born to be made an example of. Maybe what he's saying is people aren't born in sin. That
Yeah,
whatever fixtures they had, God has a plan.
yeah.
And, that's part of it. And we don't know what it is.
Right.
Because in those days, sin could also be carried on from, it through generations. If
Right.
one of your ancestors had sinned badly enough, you could be damned for, for the
You could
next
have,
couple of generations. In the Old
yes,
Testament, that happens.
yes. And there's stuff in Exodus when God talks to the people about that very
Mhm.
thing, like up to the third generation.
Yeah.
The sin will have consequences. Well, I think you could read these things like over and
Mhm.
over and over. And I just love that story of the man born blind. I I like the discourse of the good shepherd, but I can't say I get every single detail. At first, Jesus says, "Well, I'm the shepherd." Then he says, "Well, I'm the gate."
He's both the gate and the shepherd.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get in through me, and then I'm in charge, and then you follow
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
But I don't think, in our society where most of us aren't familiar with herding,
yeah,
um, we probably don't feel the intricacies of what he's saying to them in the way that they would have.
I totally
yeah,
agree with that. Also, metaphorically, Jesus was the gate, wasn't he? I mean, it's crucifixion and resurrection was the gate through which people came
Yeah.
and sought to believe.
I think that's one of the things that people found a little confusing because Jesus described himself as many different things
Yeah.
all at the same time.
yeah,
The light, the gate, the shepherd.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
The
I'm sure
bread,
people were thinking, why
the
don't you just
water.
make it easy and say, I'm the Messiah. This is what I am. End of story.
I think Lazarus is troubling because the metaphors of the loaves and fishes and a lot of other things can be okay. Well, maybe they thought they saw something, but raising somebody from the dead contravenes a
Dead.
lot of taboos. A
Oh,
lot of
yes.
taboos. And
Especially
so
somebody who's been dead for 3 days.
and it's
or 4
interesting
days.
that they say 3 days because I think in the Jewish tradition, by the fourth day, I mean, they didn't have, ways of really determining if someone really was dead. And there were probably plenty of times when they thought people were dead and then they really weren't. They were, in a coma or unconscious or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but
so
they
they
said,
mentioned several times the fourth day, which is, yeah, they're dead.
yeah.
Well,
And
it's this
they're
story.
decaying.
This story is so gritty about it.
Yeah.
It's so visceral
Yeah.
because they say, "Hey, don't open the tomb. He stinks."
Yeah.
Right.
Is what they're saying. It's really visceral.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I think is what
It's
I
a
think is kind of interesting about the story is that he's sudden, contrary to a lot of social norms, he seems to be on very familiar terms with these two unmarried women.
yeah, the two the
Mhm.
sisters.
Who are
Yeah,
they? Who are they to him? And he restores when their brother dies, that would be a very big deal for them because they don't have maybe
Yeah.
A male
protector and
Yeah.
a male head of household.
And why the heck aren't they married?
So he restores their life, so to speak, by restoring their brother.
by restoring the man of the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's implied in this story that they all knew each other, that they were extremely close. Yeah. And but I think there's nothing else about Lazarus before this in John's gospel.
Oh, in John's gospel, no, but
Yeah.
the story of the perfumed oil that was wasted.
Yes. Yeah.
Is at a different time. I forget.
Yeah.
That's
Although John refers to that this is the woman who
Yeah.
wiped his feet with her hair. Yeah. Wow.
But Jesus keeps upping the ante with his miracles.
He does.
He finally gets himself in trouble, real trouble.
and it really challenges these people. And people do believe in him when they see these things happen.
Mhm.
And then there are people who just won't. And so he
No,
takes the opportunity to say, hey, this guy is not the man born blind. You are the man born blind,
Um,
is
no,
what.
No,
this,
and
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead, Billy.
well, I was going to say that next to the last paragraph where the Caiaphas says he's he's telling them Jesus is going to die for the nation. I mean, he's like
Yeah,
becoming he sees it as
yeah. Well, remember before this, there were many times where he says, I can't do something because it is not my time.
right.
that's right.
He repeats that over and over in many circumstances. So now I think he has stopped saying that. He's doing things that is getting attention. And so this is his time.
It is
Mhm.
his time.
This is his time.
Yeah.
And there's a dramatic difference in his behavior and the way
He,
he
But it's
expresses.
he
almost as if Caiaphas himself sees him as being a sacrifice for the nation.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
yeah, I agree.
Remember, this is written. Isn't this written after the temple's destroyed?
Mhm.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these guys are all scared.
Yeah.
They're very scared that they're going to be
Yeah,
dead in
dead.
a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eradicated.
Yeah. Which in fact is kind of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But Jesus does keep pushing the ante up because at Cana he says to his mother, hey, wait, it's not my time. And then she pushes him to, well, she sort of pushes. She said,
Okay,
oh,
well,
just do what he
I'll
tells
start
you to
doing
do.
miracles now
Yeah,
since you asked.
just
Do it.
just do what he tells you to do. She's got, says almost as if she's got him wrapped around her finger. Mom.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but maybe that's what he needed to get started because it would be a heavy thing to get started.
yeah.
You have to make
When you
enough
know
of
something is how things are going to happen,
Yeah.
just say, okay, why don't we do that tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a nice time at the wedding.
Next week,
Next, yeah.
some other time.
Oh no,
Yeah.
the week after next week. Yeah. Well, it's always an interesting question to me in the Gospels whether Jesus actually knew right from the start that he was going to be a sacrifice. You know what?
I think he
And
did.
you do.
I
I've
do.
never read these with that question in mind, but to me it's is there a certain point at which it turns? But um, I think now that
He was
I've
12 years
raised the
old.
question,
12 years
it's
old when he told them, didn't you know I would be about my father's business? Remember
yeah,
when they couldn't find him?
yeah,
And
and
I think
at
the prophecies in Isaiah
Yeah.
were pretty clear.
yeah, and I think it's not so much that he did not know, is that he did not tell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, until a certain point.
Right.
Well, we don't know, so much about his growing up, his middle years. I mean, by the time he starts his ministry, he's what, 30 years of age. I mean, if he had some parts of his life that were relatively normal for a young man in a carpenter's family, he might, there are scholars who say he was likely married. He likely had children.
Yeah. By the time he was 30, it would
By
have
the
been
time he was 30, that, he would have been married.
15
Well,
years.
yeah,
Yeah,
usually in
easily.
that,
So he,
yeah,
he might have known what he was supposed to do, and he might have had time to live a human life, and then he has to follow what it is he was supposed to do. Must have been I agree with Sandy. It must have been a terrible burden and a big step to say, now I know what I have to do.
But we don't have anything in the Gospels about Jesus's quote unquote normal life or
No,
well,
I mean, I don't know that anybody does.
or whether he got married or not.
Mhm.
That's speculation.
A lot of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we know what was the normal thing
You know what would
for,
have been the norm for
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
somebody of his class and religion.
We do know that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
But we don't have a
But we
a
don't know
hint.
for sure.
We
Yeah.
don't have a hint
There's always
of that
outliers.
in the Gospels. Yeah.
No, they didn't, because no one knew him until he began his ministry. No one knew him.
Yeah, he didn't appear in any of the histories of the
He
day.
didn't start doing things until he was older.
Making a way.
Yeah. Well, we know he goes and gets baptized by John.
Right.
Then he gets tempted by the devil,
Right.
or there are the tempted.
Right.
And then he begins preaching the kingdom.
And we know from John that he's coming.
Yes,
That's what
because
John is doing.
he existed before all time.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, they were born
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
So they grew up together.
And John recognized him in the woods.
And John knew what his
John knew him right away in this.
yeah.
This gospel is so well put together. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's so dramatic. Because John says, look, this is the guy. And then his two disciples, Nathaniel and somebody else, they go look for him. It's very well told story.
There's something very
Yeah.
poignant to me about Jesus telling his mother and John that she's supposed to go and live with him the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There's something very poignant about that to me.
Yeah.
Something very
That's-
what about it?
Poignant. Yeah.
Oh
That-
yes.
That's the one man he chose to take care of his mother.
And obviously he worried about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, about her welfare.
So he entrusted his
Mother,
to John.
and they said, now you are mother and son.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
something poignant about that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. She's supposed to have lived a while after that, but
Mary.
yeah.
Well, maybe someday we're going to talk about Mary. I don't know. But I guess there's a lot to say. A lot of tradition about Mary.
Yes, there's a lot.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, I
Larry.
tell you, this gospel, I just sit here. I almost can't think about it. I'm so impressed by how the story unrolls. You know, maybe that's what I wonder, maybe, I don't know, maybe I should just enjoy it without thinking about it. You know what? My whole life I've been an analyzer, you know what? So anyway, hey,
Well,
thanks
I think
guys.
the analyzing is not that you can necessarily find the answers, but the process
It's so nice.
is what we're asked to
It's so good.
Yeah.
You're
do.
right. Yeah, you're right. It's so good.
I don't really know why. I think I know what you're referring to, Larry, but somehow in this gospel, I hear someone's voice coming through the words. I hear a personality, someone who was there, who's talking to us across several thousands of years.
It
That
seems
I-
like the stories are longer
Yes.
and there's more explanation. They're not as cryptic
Yeah,
as some of the other parables and some of the other stories.
from the other.
Well, I hear a voice in this gospel too, and for one thing, John or whoever wrote this gospel is a master storyteller, and I think we're responding to what a great artist he is.
Yeah, I
And
mean, he starts, unlike the others, he starts at the very beginning.
yes,
In the beginning.
The beginning, yeah.
and he
I mean, it's
starts
so dramatic to me that
he
that's what
starts dramatically and poetically, and then he begins to weave his in the beginning story with John the Baptist.
Mhm.
I mean, he takes the two, and in the process of narration, he intertwines them. He's really good. You know, well, he was inspired, wasn't he?
Well, we think so.
Yeah. And he has a lot to say about Jesus, but it's more, to me, it's more, I said we're going to say goodnight, but to me, it's more like he talks about what Jesus is.
Mhm.
You know what? He says, Jesus is the light. Jesus is the bread. Jesus is the water. Jesus is the shepherd. Um, and it's just there are maybe I don't remember well. There's nothing like the Sermon on the Mount in John. This is how you should behave
Right.
in God's kingdom. But John says this is who he is.
Hmm.
And so he has a slightly different, not twist, but a slightly different approach. Yeah. Maybe that's why we don't do John as, year D or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
Right.
also, they're all writing after the events, right?
Yeah.
After the fact.
Yeah.
And then people editing or adding pieces. So they're also writing to convince groups or people of these not just these events, but of the meaning of what it meant or what Jesus meant and what.
No, I
So there's
thoroughly agree with that. And
the,
we are still doing that.
yeah, which
We
is
are we still
what we are
refer
doing tonight.
yeah, we still refer to Matthew
Yeah.
in like sermons and stuff. This is how you should behave in God's kingdom.
Yeah.
This is how you should turn your heart upside down.
Yeah.
And we still talk about this is who Jesus is. It's the same old stuff. Yeah, that's great.
Right.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of eternal. Anyway.
Well, they're all trying to convince their audience that Jesus was the Messiah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Son of God.
Yeah. And they're to inspire people and to increase their faith and to I think maybe like John, it's like to make people feel a little bit of rapture.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? To
Yeah.
feel a little bit of awe and rapture about what you believe.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys are so great.
I also think he's harsher on the Jews than the others, than the Synoptics. I think he comes pretty hard on them.
He does say some tough stuff to like the Pharisees. But on the other hand, he makes it really clear that not everybody is against him. Like Nicodemus, who's a hotshot Pharisee, I believe, turns to him. Yeah.
Well, you almost get the sense, and at least from Caiaphas in some ways,
Yeah.
that he knew. He might have suspected
Yes.
what the truth was, but also found it dangerous.
Yes, he wasn't he wasn't going to cross that line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think about that a little bit.
But
but
I mean,
also,
it's I mean, and if Jesus hadn't been effective, nobody would have come after him. If
Yeah.
everybody, but he was effective and he was doing these miracles. That was definitely threatening.
Yeah.
And it was threatening to the Romans.
Yeah. But John also, you have a little sympathy with, well, I'm not sure sympathy is the word, with Caiaphas.
I do. I have a lot of sympathy with
you
Caiaphas.
see his rationalization. You see what his point of view is.
He says that, we'll have to
Well, we
kill
don't
one
want the
person to
Romans
save the
coming.
many.
Yeah. We've got to do this, guys.
It's unpleasant. It's not something we want to do. And maybe this guy is the Messiah, but this is what we got to do.
I think they're hoping that the Romans will take care of him, and so they won't have to bloody their hands.
Yeah.
I think so. That's part of it.
And eventually the Romans do. I mean,
well, they do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you wonder if the Romans hadn't persecuted the Christians, would Christianity have survived as strongly as it did?
That's a good point.
Wow, what a question that is. Holy cow. Yeah.
Well, that's there's a lot of writing about if Jesus had not persuaded Judas to betray him, there wouldn't have been a crucifixion.
Yeah. Well, I always figure that somebody had to do it.
But can you imagine that conversation?
Well, I always, that's so interesting because
we have to,
yeah.
We have occasionally had, I think you remember Anna Rossi, whose partner is Jewish. She was very offended by some of the Passion Gospels that blame the Jews so much. I forget, one of them is worse than others, and but we'll see. We're going to do the Passion according to Matthew, I believe, this year.
Okay.
But on Good Friday, we always do the Passion according to John. Every Good Friday we do that.
Okay.
So we can compare those two.
Coming back just quickly to what Sandy said, and whatever, if there hadn't been a persecution by the Romans, but I always look at it another way. There wouldn't have been so much Christianity if the Romans hadn't built all those roads.
That's true.
Because there was like terrific travel opportunities. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway, thank you so much, guys. I'm enjoying this, John, so much with you guys. Okay. Take care.
See you Sunday.
Yeah. See you Sunday. Okay. Bye, everybody.
See you in the morning.
See you in the morning.
Yeah. See you in the morning, Martha.
Yes. Bye. Good night, folks.
Okay. Bye-bye.